You're listening to Secret Lives of Musicians. It's a podcast under sound waves with the Florida Orchestra. In this episode, we sit down with
Principal Cellist of the wonderful cello section of the Florida Orchestra, Yoni Draiblate.
So we can find out all about his life outside of the symphony orchestra. But you didn't start as the principal cellist in the Florida Orchestra.
I did not, that's right. When I first came here, there was only a section opening. And I took that audition. I won, and I got to play for about a month and a half as a section player of the orchestra. And then there was an opening for a principal. Jim Connors has been here for, at this point, 35 years, and so he decided to retire, rightfully so. He earned his stripes,
absolutely,
as they say.
Yeah.
So the position was open, and I made it to the finals with two other cellists that all of whom were offered jobs. They're fantastic cellists. Victor Minka-Huls, sorry Victor if I'm butchering your name, and David Bender was offered my former position, my section position. So there you go. Now you know everything about me.
Yeah. So journey from section to principal within a year as well.
Within a month and a half, yeah.
A month and a half?
Yeah, that was the spacing, because the season, actually even less, because the season started September 16th, and the principal audition was October 17th, so actually a month, give or take.
That, I don't think people realize how badass that is.
Well, if you say so. It is badass. I guess so.
Because it's not like a normal job. It's not like your normal corporate ladder.
That's right.
Where everyone can audition for that position when it opens up in the whole world. Anyone's allowed.
Correct.
Any age, any experience level.
Exactly.
So the fact that you got that job a month after you had already gotten a different job in the orchestra, it just blows my mind. So you're like, I'm stepping up the ladder.
This is very cool, and I'm very lucky, that in a way for me it was easier in a way, because auditions can be very, very stressful. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets nervous, and I was nervous, absolutely, but in the back of my mind I felt a little more relaxed because I already knew where I'm going.
Yeah.
The very first audition, the section audition, was, I would say, a different kind of nerve-wracking, because it was a completely different scenario. I was playing with the Columbus Symphony in Ohio back then, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know Michael. Maybe we can get to the story of why I even ended up here. That's a cool story.
Yeah, let's just go straight into that. Why did you end up here in the first place for the section audition?
So two things kind of happened in tandem. And that has to do a lot with a little bit my personal life, rather my wife's story, which is very interesting. So my wife, I hope, honey bunny, I hope it's okay that I'm sharing, but my wife is adopted, and she found her, long story short, she found her birth mom and half sister on shortly before her 38th birthday.
Wow.
She's been looking for them for nearly 38 years. And we filed in the papers, and she finally got the thing in the mail that specified exactly what her biological mom's name was, because we didn't know anything. And immediately, without even waiting, she was still kind of in shock. And I was on Facebook looking up the names and Google, and it's kind of on a side note, it's kind of scary what you can find out on people through I don't have any security clearances. I just typed in some things, and within 3 hours I had the phone numbers and addresses, and so
wow.
So beware.
Oh my gosh, be
careful. I know, be careful. No, but seriously, long story short, it was kind of a convoluted explanation. They live here in St. Pete. I had, to be fair, no idea where St. Pete was, barely where Tampa, that's on me, but I didn't know they had such a great orchestra. I didn't know it's such a fantastic place to live. So anyway, they come to Columbus on her 38th birthday, on the day she was born, and they meet, and then they start telling us, well, you should check out St. Pete. It's kind of cool. We have an orchestra, we have an opera company. My wife is an opera singer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's fantastic. and we decided to come here on Christmas and check it out, and half fell in love with the place. When I say half, we still had kind of a vested interest in Columbus, and so I decided to take the audition in the following May for the section, and the rest we covered earlier. So the rest is history, as they say. The reason I ended up here was twofold. One was there was an opening, but really more so to kind of, without getting too romantic, to maybe have some closure. Hopefully have some closure for my wife. And I mean, her adoptive mom is a fantastic person. And I don't want people to hear this and think, oh, I'm, what to say, like limitless romanticist or however you say it. But, it was also like, there was an opening in orchestra that I was like, your biological family that you've just met and you like lives here, and they have an orchestra. Doing, so
it's like meant to be.
It's meant to be, and it's, so far it's been great.
Good. I'm glad. And do you enjoy any of the Floridian activities? Any sort of like beach going?
We go as much as time allows us. This job is quite demanding, but as much as time allows us, we go Treasure Island and St. Pete Beach, and as much as we can. I mean, there's such a great scene here. The beaches, of course, but restaurants and sunsets. Oh my God, we live in South St. Pete, right by Maximo Park, if you guys know where it is. And we cross the underpass. 5 minutes, we have like the best sunset. It's great. It's fantastic.
Unreal.
Yeah, and there's a playground there, so my kids are happy. Yeah. It's like everybody's happy,
Aww. Yeah. And so you have kids.
I have 2 kids.
Which our audience doesn't know, probably.
No.
So, how many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids, two boys, Jonathan and Benjamin. Jonathan is 4.5, and Benji is going to be 2 in the end of May. They play the cello.
They both do?
Yeah, I got to show you. Can I show this on camera? This is kind of it's going to take me a second to find this. This is so cool. There it is. I don't know which camera I'm pointing to.
Both of them.
So that's Jonathan. Jonathan is playing the at that point is yeah, exactly. He's playing the all by himself. I'm not helping him, and I gotta tell you, it was such a great I had such a great proud father moment.
Yeah.
2 days ago, where he figured out, he's 4.5. He figured it out on his own. Where he used to play da 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 da, and 2 days ago he figured that he needs to lift the first finger so he gets an open A. Da 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 da. And I was like, I'm sure there's some parents go like, oh, my kid can whatever, but I was like,
oh, it's such a small moment that blew you. That's amazing.
And it's even more so the fact that if you follow Yo-Yo Ma and you know his story, he started very similar, in a very similar fashion with the cello, where that was the first piece he ever learned.
Wow.
And he just figured it out, note by note, day by day, and at 4 years old.
Wow.
So will Jonathan become the next Yo-Yo Ma? That time will tell, but I'm just very proud of him.
Yeah, that's really sweet. Do they sit and watch you as you practice?
They do for the most part. Sometimes they're a little more. I move the bow, and Benji, my 2-year-old, just pulls me because he needs something. But for the most part, they're very observant, and they. I mean, he picked it up, I'm sure, because he saw me, and In fact, he's playing on the cello that I started playing on when I was 5. The very same
so
cello.
Sweet. Oh my gosh.
Last time I went home, I brought it. My parents kept it all these years, and so that's another closure. You know.
So tell me about your home, because you're not from here. Where are you from?
I'm from Israel originally. And
where in Israel?
Bat Yam. For those of you who are familiar with the Israeli geography, you have Tel Aviv in the middle, on the coast in the middle of the country, and Bat Yam is pretty much on the southern tip of Tel Aviv. So that would be the same as, let's say, Gandhi being on the southern tip of Tampa. That's kind of like the equivalent.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what's it like? Bridge. What's it like there? What's it like growing up there?
Interesting, to say the least. It's, God, where should I begin? growing up in Israel for a musician in the city I grew up in is very interesting. I remember very vividly one time where my brother was practicing. My brother is also a violinist. He's a violinist, and he was practicing, and we lived in the third floor of an apartment building, and I could hear, it was like about 6 p.m., and I could hear, like, I think it was either his friends or my friends from school, and like trying to like lob rocks at our apartment, like all the way up on the third floor, and they were like, just be quiet, stop practicing already, because like, so let me tell you about my family. Both my parents are violin players, well, were retired. My sister, up until she joined the military, she was a concert pianist, and the military kind of took the toll on her career. Mm-hmm. My brother, as I mentioned, is a violin player, and I'm a cellist, and so it was a very when we were all practicing, it was a very loud, loud environment. We had we didn't live in a big apartment, but we had a concert grand piano. And I remember when they brought the crane. You know, it was like in the movies, the crane came and the piano was kind of
people
like...
were yelling on the ground.
It was like, there's a piano. It's like, and then it felt, no. It took the whole length of the living room. Yeah. We still have it. I wish I had a picture. But, you know, so when she played, you could hear it from half a mile away. Wow. And then, you know, my dad played in an orchestra, in the Israeli Chamber Orchestra. My brother was practicing. I was practicing. My mom couldn't practice because there's no more rooms left. Wow. You know, we lived in a small 3-bedroom, and so she was like, you know, taking care of house chores and stuff like that. So that was my childhood as far as like my, let's say, musical education. Growing up in Israel is interesting. Like I said, for a classical musician, I think the best way to put it is, it's hard not to get political with Israel. I mean, it's an amazing country, lots to see and fantastic people, great food, but it's a tough place to live. It's a country that it's in a constant state of chaos, interrupted by moments of war. So finding peace and quiet is rare unless you live somewhere up north or down south where there's a little bit more nature around you, but it can be very hustling and bustling, and then on top of that, the geopolitical situation. So, yeah, it was interesting. It's, you know, that being said, the track record of immensely talented and accomplished musicians coming out of Israel is insane. The output is just phenomenal. Itzhak Perlman, which we played with in the season. Lahav Shani, which is the current music director of the Israeli Phil. You know, he, of course, Israeli. I mean, Guy Brownstein, the former concertmaster of the Berlin Phil. And I'm not doing justice to. There's so many. There's just so many. I mean, and they're like phenomenal. Yeah. They're not just like, you know, we're a small country, but the concentration of talent is just, you know. So there's always, going back to your question, how is it growing up? I was never too far from a great artist. Wow. You know, there's so much there. And so you learn a lot.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some Brahms Double Concerto, because...
Who?
Is that what you're doing? Brahms?
Never heard of him. Yes.
Did you see the fear in my eyes? I was like, did I get her? Because I often will say something that I'm thinking of the right word, and the wrong word comes out. And that the fear in my eyes of like looking just so dumb and saying the wrong word.
Do you remember that cereal commercial?
Raisin Brahms?
Well, no. Where like there's kids, I forget, I'm butchering the synopsis now, but like there's kids eating, and then Johannes Brahms, or like a double of Johannes Brahms lookalike, comes and bursts through the wall with a grand piano. We have to look it up. Maybe you can maybe you can insert it. Yeah. And so he bursts through the wall uses the piano as a battering ram and breaks through the wall, and the kids go like, Johannes Brahms.
I bring you arts-enriched Raisinblams, fortified with increased test scores and creative problem-solving skills.
It's good!
And good for you.
Bobby? Susie?
Don't worry, that's just the power of the art!
And so that's it. Let's talk about Brahms. I'm sorry, everyone. It's just like
Oh my god.
I tend to get distracted.
Yeah, no worries.
Johannes Brahms.
Johannes Brahms. Old Raisin Brahms, he wrote a concerto.
He did.
And mostly concertos are for one instrument, typically.
Correct.
Highlighted.
Correct.
And the orchestra supports or fights against or whatever that maybe. It's one instrument featured and then the rest of the orchestra. But this is a double concerto.
It's a double concerto, which you don't see much in the Romantic period. You see a whole bunch in Mozart and such and Bach, but not so much from Brahms. In fact, I don't know if there's any in his kind of period, in the Romantic period. So there's a cool story behind it. Why double concerto? So he wrote it in 1887. He wrote it for his lifelong friend Joseph Joachim, the very famous violinist, and Robert Hausmann, his French cellist. Hausmann was cello professor of the Köln University in Germany. And so Brahms writes this double concerto, and the story behind it, a kind of unofficial story, is that he wrote it to kind of try and kill two birds with one stone. Hausmann was asking him for a concerto. There is no Brahms cello concerto. There's the Tchaikovsky Rococo variations and Dvorak and Schumann and all the big ones kind of wrote cello concertos, but Brahms didn't. At the same time, Joachim's marriage was falling apart. And unfortunately, he ended up getting a divorce. Now, this is important for the story because Brahms sided with his ex-wife.
Oh.
So imagine a lifelong friend, a very dear friend, decades of friendship, and all of a sudden you're siding with the side I don't agree with.
Yeah.
Dude, you're supposed to be like my best friend kind of thing, right?
Bro
so,
code.
Yeah. So Joachim didn't quite like that. So back to the double concerto, Brahms wrote this as kind of a peace offering or a let's resume our friendship to Joachim, and at the same time trying to satisfy Hausmann's hunger for cello concerto.
Amazing.
And so the Brahms double concerto was born.
That's kind of a fun story with drama and friendship.
People think
Divorce.
classical music is boring, but I'm telling you, there's so much drama.
Does that come across in the music at all, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Without spoiling it too much, because we're also going to talk about it in the pre-concert talk before the concert. It starts with a very heroic theme from the orchestra. Yum, bum, 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 bum. And after a few measures of a heroic opening, then the cello comes in by itself. Nothing else is going on. Like a mini cadenza in the beginning of a concerto, which is almost unheard of. Usually when we talk about concerto, orchestra does an introduction and the soloist and they all go and explore and together and then in the end there's a chord. Towards the end there's a chord, and then now it's the time of the soloist to show what he can really do by himself without the distraction of the orchestra, right?
Yeah.
So to flip it is very unique, and so that's very cool. So the cello comes in and you might say it's angry, you know. And well, if I would go through divorce, I would be very angry too, you know. Well, I don't want to give it away too much. Come to the concert.
Okay, that's a really good teaser.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it. It's not.
Yeah,
well,
come
we're
to see
recording
me
this
being
early.
angry.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to they'll be kind of rapid questions just about secret life. So your secret life. What is, and I'm just going to, these are coming off the dome. What is your favorite movie?
Wow. Okay. I don't have a favorite movie ever. Like I love the Black Hawk Down, Zero Dark 30, kind of like the military action genre.
Yeah. Okay.
I recently watched Good Will Hunting.
I've never seen it.
Captain Phillips
I haven't seen that.
made me cry.
Really?
Yeah, because there's a scene where after they free him up, after the Navy SEALs manage to rescue him, and he gets on the ship and on the medical bay. Those of you who've seen it know what's coming, and he's shell shocked. You know,
Oh my
he's
gosh.
just been in a very traumatic experience. And the nurse, the Navy nurse, sits him down and is like, you know, he's in his shock, and he's like, "Sir, I need you to look at me." And like, I know that touched the nerve, because it's a very, I think Tom Hanks is fantastic, and that was a very good scene acting wise, but also it touched a really human nerve. Good movies that really touch your heart are the movies that shed light on the personal stories and the sacrifice, and I think that's very important.
That was a wonderful answer. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Do you have a cat?
We used to.
Oh.
Yeah, she was like, oh my God. She was, do we have time? Okay. Well, cats.
Do you have time is the
Do you have
question.
time? I don't know.
It's been 30 minutes.
For you, I have time. Cats. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, cats.
She was.
What's your favorite sport? No, not what I meant. What's your favorite? Sure. What's your favorite sport?
What's my favorite sport? I grew up playing soccer. Now, I don't really know. I probably would if I had time, go back, play soccer.
Do you prefer the mountains or like the beaches?
Wow. That's a loaded question. All the questions are like, mountains. I like the beach. I like them both, but I would say mountains, because in the beach you can hear the sunset. That was a great moment. You can hear the waves and the birds and everything, and it's great and it's peaceful. But in the mountains, you hear nothing.
Yeah.
And if you really want peace and quiet, especially after climbing a tall mountain, you know, there's a lot of sense of accomplishments that you can get, but to really clear your mind, you know, because it takes, for us living here in St. Pete, we drive 10 minutes and we're in St. Pete Beach.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so close.
it is cool and it's so cool, but you don't really appreciate the quiet, because you still have your cell phone and you still have all these earthly distractions. But when you're up on a 5,000 footer, it's like there's nothing around you. You can't even hear cars, you know, and it's just like, that's a good place to be.
Now I want to go hiking.
See?
Dang.
Yeah, I love hiking. So that was the next question.
I really went there. You see me like, I forgot my next question is. I was imagining the mountains. The mountains.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I had another question, but now I can't think of it. I think we should end there.
All right.
All right, Yoni. It was really nice talking to you. And I can't wait for the double concerto. It's going to be so fun. And I can't wait to hear how that drama unveils itself in the music.
Oh, it's going to be good.
All right, everybody
gonna be
come
good.
out to see it. Come out to see Yoni. And you'll see him at every other concert as well.
I hope. Yeah.
In the front.
I hope.
Because that's where you be.
That's where I be.
All right. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Secret Lives of Musicians. We will see you at the next one.